Just started only. Yeah, correct. Because I want to start on time so that we can all end on time. Anyway, it's raining very heavily now here in office. Okay, thanks. So we have Lily, Steve, Jacqueline. I'm not quite sure who is an ANA. Is this one of our students?
Hi, yeah, Anastasia.
Hey, hi.
Hi, yeah.
The lady seated on the front with the petroleum, right?
Yes, Petrochem.
Okay.
Axis Petrochem.
Yes. How's things on your side? Everything good?
Good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay. So anyway, as I mentioned, I just want to start earlier so that we can actually end earlier so that there will be any questions or whatever. Can always start off with later on asking me anything. So let me just probably start sharing some screen. Okay, the how the concept works is actually quite straightforward. Okay, first and foremost, evening to everybody. So what's going to happen is that I will run you through the slides of about 45 minutes. Okay, Juliana is in. I'll run it probably about 45 minutes of the slides, and then I'll usually leave about 15 minutes for Q&A. So how the Q&A can work will be, you can actually post your questions into the the chat box. If you notice on the Zoom, depending on the configurations, most of the chat box are probably hidden behind under the three little button called More. Okay, so you can actually post your questions. You don't have to post a question only on the 15-minute slots. You can post a question anytime. Okay, and then I'll come back and reply to you later. Okay, so how it works is quite straightforward. For those who just came in, so 45 minutes of sharing of slides and then 15 minutes of this Q&A. So typically, so if you can switch off your video, switch off your mic so that, if there's any questions whatsoever, you don't have any interruptions. So if everybody is okay, then I'll just kick off. So for those who actually just came in, well, I prefer to start on time. So let me just start the whole entire thing. Okay, so here we go. So just take note that this is actually recorded. Okay, this is already recorded on your screen. So okay, so it's quite straightforward. Okay, so today the topic is basically circling around fundraising. So fundraising, there are actually a couple of things. As my staff, okay, I usually don't give you the 101 of fundraising, what is the explanations and stuff that I prefer not to. I'll jump straight into a bit more practical of the kind of mistakes that a lot of people do and a lot of people make, and then how you can actually circumvent and how to get yourself prepared. Because a lot of speakers, they will tell you fundraising, what are the things that need to prepare. But to be very honest, probably out of 10, you may not actually remember half of it. Because at the moment you go to preparing yourself, most of the time people actually over-prepare. And also one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people do is that they think that the fundraising happens only in the settings of a meeting, in the setting of standing in front of a stage. Usually no. Fundraising can happen anywhere, everywhere, including not talking to the, not selling yourself to the investors, but selling yourself to someone who actually finds it very interesting, and they themselves will be able to link you up to someone who actually is looking around to invest in such kind of businesses. And it is actually quite common. In fact, most of my experience is that most people won't invest in you directly just because you approach them. Most of the folks actually invest because there's always what we know as a word of mouth. Someone refer you, and then you get to know them. And this is where usually the more interpersonal relationships need to be built first. Okay, so let's start off. Okay, so as usual, the classic way of who am I, what do I do, and stuff like that. So this is me. QR code, email address. I'm born in the year of 1975. Okay, thanks to the filter, I probably look a bit younger. So for those who are in Singapore, you probably know what is secondary school normal means. In my era, normal means that you're studying 5 years instead of 4 years. I was in ITE doing mechatronics, and then followed by Singapore Poly. I was doing the material engineering, and then followed by university will be Oklahoma universities, and then Western Sydney in Australia. And the very official startups that I did was in 2005, sold it off in 2011. Some folks call it back to you, some call it back to you. It depends on, but whatever it is, it was actually the first universal mobile security software that covers from your Nokia to BlackBerry to iPhones to Androids, a whole bunch of all this. So subsequently, after 2011, I went on to invest in companies, structure companies, skill companies, and then also sell some companies. Okay, I'm spending most of the time now in Blackstone. That's where we start the company, we structure company, and we also scale the company. We during the period early stage of the Blackstone, we actually spun off a company that's focused on edutech. That is Xprenia. Okay, so about Blackstone, very quickly, why this is a very interesting. Always, people ask us what is Blackstone. So on the right side, you can probably see black simply means that it's profitable. Storm means that we do it very quickly. Probably because of the way we structure it, we tend to answer, make decisions, and then give you suggestions very quickly. Partly it's because of the years of experience that we have built up, and so we don't want to spend too much time, circling around and trying to beef up with lots of reports so they can confuse you. That's why lots of people don't like consultants. So for us, it's we don't really see ourselves as consultants. We see ourselves more as a fixer, more as someone who actually help you to scale your business rapidly. Okay, so very quick introductions. Okay, how to raise funds for your business. Okay, there's many ways of saying it, but bottom line here is that you are going to raise some money for your business. So when we talk about how to raise funds for your business, first and foremost, we have to understand, is your business even worth investing? So because of most of us who are founders, we tend to be a bit more biased, thinking that my business is actually probably suitable to raise funds. But the question that we always fail to answer is, who are we actually trying to raise funds from? Okay, so example, okay, you may have a business that is running for 10, 20 years. So after that, you may think of, hey, you know what? I want to raise funds. Because my business is there 10, 20 years, do I still raise funds from the typical route? From the public, from the bank, crowdfundings, or from private investors, from VCs, from PE, a whole bunch of all this. So today, the focus is actually very much more in the smaller businesses. It can be a startups, it can be SME, but the ways of raising funds, you can do it in a very structured way, or you can do it in a very unstructured way. So in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to cover a bit of everything. Okay, so now, so instead of diving in straight into how should we raise funds and everything, let's first look at the common reason why you won't be invested. And the key word here is that you won't be invested, or you probably got a lot of conditions that work against you. So I'm going to list down some of the things that probably work against you that you may not even get yourself fundraise. So first and foremost, the reason why I'm talking about this, the very first one is that there are actually a lot of missteps. And lots of people tend to spend a lot of time not able to identify why they are not invested. So they may have thought that I prepare everything, but the moment I start talking to a lot of people, everybody says it's good, but somehow, somewhere, I'm just not funded. Okay, take a look at these few. Okay, these are probably the few things that you do not want to do. Okay, and it can really get onto anybody's nerve. When we talk about investors doesn't mean that it has to be a huge financial institute. It can be an individual who spare cash. It can be your friends, families, or even fools. Okay, and it can be anybody. But most importantly, these are the few things that you do not want to do. First, there are many other investors who are ready to put in the money. Invest earlier, or you may regret. This is a very, very common problem or common statements that a lot of people, when you're doing pitching, they want to rally up to get potential investors to come to you fast. So they tend to make mistake there are many other investors who are ready to put in the money. So come early or you may regret. Trust me, anyone who is actually worth their salt as an investor, as seasoned investors, there will always be lots of opportunities. In fact, most of the investors who are savvy, they actually reject more than they accept. So it is a common. So when you try to get them, rally up and say, hey, you know what? Come to me early or not, you will regret. Investors actually will regret more if they invest it wrongly. So that means that if you're going to get yourself invested, make sure that you don't do this kind of, make this kind of statement that they may probably just don't like it and then they'll probably just walk away. And the sad thing is that they may not even tell you that that statement actually tanked the whole entire presentations. Number two, I'm not going to drop everything because honestly, you can actually read on your own. Number two, this is also very common, name dropping. Okay, they name drop every mother and son that they know of. But the problem is that no, and none of them are actually your existing investors. Sometimes a lot of people like to say, hey, you know what, my mentor is so and so. Who is she? Who is that? You know, drop a lot of names. But the thing is that when you go in and then you deep dive in, or maybe when you do your due diligence, you realize, hey, you know what? A lot of them actually don't even invest in you. So when you put all these big names inside and it's discovered, they know that you're lying. Because the moment if someone is really interested to do investment, they go in and they start to look into all these, things that you actually say, and it doesn't tally up, they will drop you out. Okay, simple as that. Okay, another thing is that, for example, associations with questionable characters. I think this is a lot. What a lot of people do not understand or do not know is that, especially when you're using the social media, be very selective of who you tag. If somehow, somewhere, some of these people are questionable characters, or probably they are known as, interesting fellas who actually go down on the ground, or, didn't do very well, but somehow you're associated with them. That can actually tank your whole entire pitching also. Okay, another thing is that not honest to review the background and history of the founders and or your business. It's very common. Some people when you come out and you start to pitch, you actually don't give yourself a crystal clear report of the backgrounds of the founders. Let's say, for example, I'm running a business. I got two other founders and we are pitching. And somehow I just said, one of them is a sleeping partner, but never get to review what is he on. Now, is he just putting my money, not doing anything? Because when we talk about sleeping partners, there are many other things. So if you want someone to invest in a company, it is always very, very important to be able to review everything. If your founders is someone that you're ashamed to announce it publicly, then probably this founder may not be right for you. Okay, running it part-time, I think this is a fact. If you're talking about raising funds for $5, $10, $100, $200, I think that was nothing. But if you're talking about raising funds for millions of dollars, I think that is something. So your commitment is going to be very different. If you're going to raise funds for millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in US, you can't be affording to run a part-time. Because the moment you say that, hey, I'm actually running a part-time, you do not want the investors to invest in you as a part-timer also. Okay, another one, wait, exit strategy. Nobody invests in you without knowing how are they going to exit. So if you're running a business and you're not able to come up with the exit strategy for the investors, don't go out and raise funds because you are just going to be wasting a lot of time. It is just like I'm coming out to tell you, hey, I need $1 million. And the investor say, okay, if I put in $1 million, what will I get? If you answer, you'll get shares. Sure, you'll get shares. But what's next? Okay, am I going to put in $1? I will get $3 in 2 years' time. Put in $1, get $3 in 4 years' time, in 5 years' time. How are you going to sell? Are you going to sell my shares? Are you going to sell the companies? Are you going to get someone to invest in me so that the valuation goes up? If you have a weak exit strategies for investors will stay away from you. Very simple. Okay, a few others. Okay, so let me just jump straight into all founding members of the same skill, and you don't see it as a problem too. Okay, I know this sounds a bit controversial. Some of them were like, hey, what's wrong with having people with all the same skill? Nothing wrong. Yeah, nothing wrong. But the problem is that if you're raising funds from someone and the fella is going to give you, let's say, $1 million, if all founding members of, let's say, 3 of you all have the similar skills, everybody know how to sell, but nobody know how to develop, nobody know how to build, nobody how to run a company. So when that happens, it means that you actually got to spend extra money, extra cash, extra resources to hire the people that the 3 founding members are not able to work together on that, because this means that extra money has to be spent on someone, and then also at the same time, because all the founding members may not have enough experience of the other skill sets, it means that supervision will be a challenge, and investors will always be very worried if all founding members all have the same skill and nobody has intention to pick up new skills. Okay, CEO is self-centered. I think this is quite common. Because if a character, there's a personality or character flaws, if investors are picking up, they are always worried that at the end of the day, either the CEO cannot work with the rest of the CXO, or the rest of the team members, then the whole company will collapse. And it is always, always very, very common that when whoever is a self-centered, if they want to join a company or they start a company, it doesn't end well. Okay. Next one, I think it's quite straightforward. It's okay to lie and cheat to get its way. Okay, so if you display certain of these investors who are fast enough, will be able to pick it up, and then I will probably say no to you. Excuse me. Okay, so second one, you got to prepare the answers for the most commonly asked questions. Okay, when we talk about commonly asked questions, here's the problem. You may think that whatever that they ask is going to be very common, but the problem is that questions that are simple are usually the most complicated to answer. Okay, these are the few common ones, but it's always very difficult to answer. But if you are very confident to answer it, congratulations. But if you are not, better spend some time. For example, personally, I like to ask, who are you? Okay, so there can be thousands of different types of combinations of answer. Okay, it also depends on how fast do you think. If someone asks you, who are you? There have been quite a few occasions that they heard wrongly. They said, yes, I'm fine. Okay, so this also for me to test out how sharp are you? Are you actually ready? Sometimes you got so nervous that whatever the question that comes along, you can't, you can't answer it properly. Okay, for example, number 3, how do you differentiate yourself with your nearest competitors? Okay, the most common mistakes will be there are no competitors. Okay, or the competitors are very far away from you. So when you say something that big, then you probably have to justify it with the next questions, such as, how do you differentiate yourself with your nearest competitors in sales, in marketing, in branding? Anything that the investors added in and you're not able to answer, you're actually lying. And if you're lying, it goes back to what I said earlier, do not lie. Because if you're not able to differentiate yourself, you should not even differentiate yourself by going to investors at all. Okay, who are the shareholders? This is something very important. When someone asks you who are the shareholders, be upfront. If there are no shareholders, there are no shareholders. If your mom is a shareholder, just say it's a mom. If your dad or your girlfriend or ex-girlfriend is a shareholder, just be upfront. And sometimes people actually take a lot of effort not to tell others who are their shareholders, saying that, hell, this is a non-disclosure. Honestly, there's nothing to be disclosed about because all I need to do, just go to ACRA, which is a platform by the government agencies, pay a couple of dollars, and I can actually see who are all your shareholders in the company. The reason why a lot of people, investors, like to ask who are your shareholders is because they try to see whether can they actually interlink. Some shareholders is not just putting money. Some shareholders have the network. Some shareholders have the brand, and they are able to help you. Okay, the brain behind this business, this is important. It can be a singular or it can be a plural. If it's not you, but you're the one who pitched, please give credits to whoever who started this business. Okay, don't try to claim everything yourself. Because whatever you say, investors remember, and next time when you do a due diligence, they find out that, hey, you know what? You lie. Okay. Working experience and history of individuals. Okay, let me tell you the truth. Here's the thing. If the moment someone find out about you and they have an interest in you, the first thing that most people, depending on which country or which continent are you, most people, the very first thing they will do is that they will go to your LinkedIn. And then probably depending on your age, they'll probably go to your TikTok, your Instagram, or your Facebook. So here's one question that a lot of students always ask me. Hey, Paddy, if I don't have much and I don't like to brand myself, can I continue to raise funds? Of course you can. But the question here is that the due diligence, you want to make life easier for your investors. You want to make life easier for your clientele. If you have anything that you can put it digitally, it will mean that it's easier for them to find out. If you are shy about this, shy about that, you prefer not to do this, prefer not to brand it yourself, then you make due diligence difficult. Oh, sorry. Okay. So the next few questions, why do you need to fundraise? Okay, so here's a very difficult question to answer. Why do you need to fundraise? Don't think of it in a linear form. If you think of it in a linear form, simply means that why do you need to fundraise? If you just say, I need to fundraise because I need the money for whatever thing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here's the thing. Nothing wrong with that answer. But the smarter one will answer it in such manner that you give a timeline. Meaning that I will need to fundraise because I need to build a program. I need to build a platform. now. So I need the money. But once this platform is being built, okay, I will probably start to go out to do branding, start to do selling and everything, whatever. And then it's to start to generate some revenue. And the portions of it that was used to build the platform, was to build the technology, then the rest of the portion will probably be used for marketing whatsoever. Okay, why? Probably you may have heard a lot of them come up with a pie chart. They'll tell you 30% is for operations, 20% is for marketing, whatever. But the question here is that when you look at it, it doesn't mean that you take the money and you spend it immediately. So that's why the smarter one, you always have to spread it out over time. Like maybe say for the first 6 months that I'll be using X% of the fundraise to do 1, 2, 3. And then subsequently, I'll use the next 20, 30% of it to do 4, 5, 6. So that you can give the whole entire timeline to a potential investors. And when the potential investors see it, oh, okay, so you want to raise 100 million, you want to raise 100,000, you want to raise $10,000. So how are you going to use it? When are you going to use it? This is important because it brings to the next question. How long can your business last if without any fundraise? So this also means that if you were to review everything saying that I need this amount to do this thing over a period of time, when someone asks you how long can your business last if without fundraise, okay, this simply means that if today you go out and raise funds and you did not get anything out of it, which is actually very common. Yeah, a lot of people keep asking, hey, Paddy, if I want to raise funds, do you think I can raise it in 1 week, raise it in 2 weeks? To be very honest, the preparation work is actually more than the time to raise. Okay. If your preparation work is just overnight and then you expect the funds to be raised almost immediately, it's impossible. Or rather, it's very rare because you may probably need to spend time to prepare your whole entire deck. You need to spend time to brand yourself. You need to spend time to let people, have a digital footprint of you, able to find out who you are, where you are, what you do. So question here is, if I'm not able to raise funds in the next 6 months, theoretically, your company is going to die. Okay, so when someone asks you how long can a business last without any fundraise, so the answer usually is that, okay, if you say, if I don't raise funds by tomorrow, my company will collapse. Congratulations, you just tank your own whole pitching. Because investors will never want to invest in a company that has to depend on my last dollar, okay, to last yourself for the longest time. No investors want to do that because the risk is almost 100%. This means that I will tell you I need $100. If you don't give me $100, my company will collapse. It should not be done in this way. You have to be smart enough, but not lying. You should be smart enough that you know that if you were to do fundraising, let's say you need about 6 months, let's say you need about 3 months, your business should continue to run with or without any fundraising. The last thing that you want is they tell you, I want to invest in you, but you will have to do 6 months of due diligence with me. Are you okay? Okay. The drive behind this business, okay, only you know. So you have to be very careful about how are you going to structure the answer. The drive behind this business and why did you start this business sounds similar, but not necessary. Okay. Next question. How is a business different from others locally, regionally, or even globally? If you want to fight on the local turf, then you must be very good in local turf. If you want to fight in the regional, you must know what are the challenges that you may face. So for example, like down here in Southeast Asia, I think one of the biggest questions that always a lot of people will ask is, hey, you know what? You have a business here in Singapore. You want to sell it to Malaysia, you want to sell it to Indonesia or Thailand. All the currencies are lower than us. So why are you still selling over there? Your cost may be $1. If you go to Malaysia, it's 3.5. So you are still making money from the Malaysia side, but your cost is higher. Is it worth it? You have to figure out how to answer all this. Okay. Comparison between the best and of course the up and coming competitors. As I mentioned, never compare yourself saying that I got no competitors. It's impossible. And always, don't get yourself blindsided that there only be direct competitors. In fact, a lot of companies actually has indirect competitors. So for example, when Grab first came into the picture, okay, everybody's thinking, oh, there's taxi. But do you know actually Grab is not doing taxi only. They do food, they do bank, they do a lot of other things. So they can be your indirect competitors somewhere, somehow. Because anyone who actually has a super app, launching from food to delivery to logistics whatsoever, they can be your indirect competitors or if not, direct competitors also. Another thing, statistics. Why this is the way to go? Okay, because most investors do not invest just based on gut feel. If anyone who based on gut feel or based on emotional, they are probably related to you. Okay. But anyone who is not related to you, you should be able to give numbers. Let's say, for example, I'm selling this particular item. My profit margin is 30%. But my inventory cannot keep more than 30 days. So then you have to do a calculation. So that means my cost of productions versus my cost of storage, minus off the profits, minus off the risk and everything. What leaves me, okay, at the end of the day? So all these statistics is important, okay? And to be honest, you should have all your numbers are in the tip of your, you should remember it. The moment the person asks, you should be able to, basically vomit out all the numbers. That is very important, because otherwise, if someone asks you, hey, you know what? If your profit margin is 30%, that's selling locally. What happens if you sell regionally? Are you going to be selling the same or the same price? How are you going to do adjustment? You need to have all these numbers on hand. Okay, so for those who just joined us, as I mentioned, I'm running a couple of things, basically your who, what, and where, and all this. So this is currently, I'm actually talking about more of the questions that typically an investors will ask you, okay? So number 3, who do you want to invest in your business? Okay, so this is important. This is not a question. You have to ask yourself. A lot of companies are always come to us and say, Paddy, I want to get myself invested. Sure. My first question is, who do you want to invest in a company? And if the question is like, as long as anybody has money, then I tell you it's wrong. Because anyone who wants to invest in you has to have money if the money is the one that you're asking. But are you asking for investment of the money? Or are you asking for investors that not just investing in the money, but probably even to share with you the network, share with you the connections? So you always have to figure out, who do you really want? Okay. There are a couple, first ring. Okay, look at it on the top left. Someone who actually knows you by name. These are probably the people that you want them to invest in you. When I talk about investors, as I mentioned earlier, it does not mean that it has to be a financial institute. It can be an individual. It can be someone who has a high net worth, someone who has the money, who has a spare cash. First ring is always who knows you by your name. This is important, because if they know you by your name, they probably know your background and they probably know what are you up to. This is very important, because why? It removes all the awkwardness of having to pitch from page 1 to the last page. And most importantly, it is also people who actually knows and see your progress. So which is why I always emphasize to folks who actually attend our workshops or consultancy. I will always tell them, try to build a network that you own it in the social media. Because if you are someone who actually don't like to post, okay, nobody knows you. You say, hey, I want to be in stealth. Sure. But stealth is not everything in stealth. If nobody knows who you are and then it just suddenly pops up and say, hey, I need to raise funds, I tell you, it's almost close to zero. So it's always important to let people know what are you doing, okay, but you are not in such a way that, hey, I'm just putting out all my trade secret. Because if someone finds you that your last post was 1, 2, 3 years ago, they were like, okay, so I don't have much information. And you started this business 4, 5 years ago. So I don't really know what happens in between. Okay. And of course, who attended your talks or events more than 3 times, and both of you actually talk and follow up with updates of your progress, which is why I always highly encourage, if you are expert of your domain, put yourself up, okay, either on a hybrid model, meaning that you come out to talk, you come out to, post articles, you come out to challenge, you come out to give suggestions, any form, digitally or physically. Because if you are able to do any of those, and there are the types of people who actually follow you more than 3 times, it means that they actually take an interest in you, take an interest in the product, take interest in your thought process. And perhaps they even after the whole entire thing finished, they reach out to you on the LinkedIn, they reach out to you to talk to you, shake your hand, and then just chit chat with you. Okay, anyone who actually did more than 3 times, these are the people you want to go to them, because why? They are there for a reason. Okay. And of course, who you've been seeking advices and direction since the inception of your business. Always go back to them, update them with the progress. Some people say, hey, you know what? Having to update a lot of people is very, very troublesome. Well, if you're going to update everybody, then probably they are not in the first ring. You should probably usually, keep within a certain updates within no more than 10%. And this 10% should always be, to know what you are doing every 3 months. Second ring, someone that you know close, okay, who knows some individuals who may be keen to invest in this industrial verticals and can get you a coffee sessions. Okay, so earlier on in the during the introductions, I mentioned about when we talk about investors, it doesn't mean that it has to go to someone who wants to invest in you directly. You can actually approach someone indirectly who knows some individuals who may be keen. Why? Because you spread, okay, you can actually tap onto the network and you spread the words much faster. You don't just go to someone and say, hey, do you want to buy this? No. Okay, then ends it. But if you know someone who knows someone, okay, or a group of people who may be thinking of, you know what, I've been focusing on a lot of green technology. If I'm focusing on green technology, then you will probably talk to someone who is actually a champion in green technology. So when you talk to them and say, so and so, I have already come up with products and I already started selling. And I'm actually looking for 100,000 to scale my business. Do you know or do you think there will be someone who will be interested to sit down to have a chat with me? Not necessary for you to pitch. Okay. So here's something that actually I learned in around year 2000. So I had I mean I have a boss. I had a boss. So my boss, who was his name is Casey Lim. He shared with me and said, hey, you know what, Paddy? He just joined a company. Salary is not fantastic, but I know. Okay, he pays me. Not fantastic, but how do you spend your money? So I was like, okay, where is this going? He said, just keep about 5%, okay, to buy coffee. I was like, okay, so 5% to buy coffee. And when I first started working in this Japanese company, I was paid 1,650 dollars Sing. I still remember. And I'm already graduates and everything already. So it was considered as low then. But very interesting, he said, oh, just take 10%, 5%. I was like, okay, why? He said, talk to someone that you find an interest, okay? Sit down, have a cup of coffee with them. That's it. Okay, the coffee is not about an hour, it's not about 2 hours, it's about the value and the quality of the talk. Because in a coffee sessions, they get to know you more, you get to know them more. But it's not about gossip. It's about talking about business. And when you get to know more, you know what? So someone who actually spent a whole life of doing certain businesses, their whole life of experiencing certain things, they sit down and then they actually invest the 1 hour or 2 hours to you. And you invested 1 hour or 2 hours to you and exchange life story, exchange experience. That can actually get you a step closer that when one day, when you decided to raise funds, this person who actually knows about your life story, they will probably be the one to open the door for you to get you the next investors. Okay. Next, you should know someone close who knows some VC, family office, okay, corporate VC, which may be keen to invest in these industrial verticals and can get you a coffee sessions. Okay, this is important. You may think, oh, hey, Paddy, see, isn't the first one, the second one similar? Yes and no. Okay, the second one are usually what we know as the corporate guys. Okay, so that means someone who actually a bit more corporate. This is in their, in their turf. They've been spending their whole life talking to VCs, family office. These are all the big corporates, financial institutes and everything. But the first one that I'm talking about is actually more interpersonal. It's more personal. You actually know them as a friend. They actually knows you as a friend. Okay, last one, quite straightforward. Who you've been seeking advices and direction on. But take note, when you talk to whoever who has been giving you advices, don't go to them, tell them that this is what I'm doing. I want to raise funds, help me. It doesn't work this way. Because not everybody who advise you will open the door for you. Not everyone who gives you the direction opens the door for you. Why? Because to you is just yes or no. But to whoever the person is going to be saying yes or no, they have to look back the kind of connection that they have. Are you actually even there? If you're not even there, now shouldn't you actually ask, hey, am I actually even there? If I'm not even there, what are the gaps? So you should actually spend more time on that. Third ring. Okay, this is not the law of the ring, but third ring simply means that it's actually further and further. But this is also as important. You identify the mandates of the various corporate investors and see which one fits you. Example, there may be certain big brands who actually are investors. They may have a VC arm. Okay, they may have a venture arm. They may have an investment arm. And a lot of them, which especially if they are public companies, they may actually make announcement saying that, okay, for 2024 to 2026, we are going to be investing in AI. We are going to be investing in green technology. So if that is the case, then there's actually no point for you to go and talk to them if yours doesn't fall into any of the categories. And don't be so naive to say that, hey, mine is fantastic. I should still approach and talk to them. And if you do that, you're just wasting their time. And they will probably think of it as, didn't you read our news? So if you read our news, so why are you still coming? Okay, so don't break it for your own self. Okay. Next one, identify the project that have been invested which are similar or in the same industry as you. Okay, you may think, hey, Paddy, if an investor's already invested in a company that are similar like mine or maybe so-called competitors, should I even go back to them? Well, yes and no. Why? Because you see, the one who invested in another company, perhaps they may be tier one investors. They may be, they may be one of the better one. It doesn't stop you from going to the second best or going to the third best. Talking to them will actually helps you to understand, because some people may have missed the boat. Okay, it doesn't mean that all the good deals are only the investors will get it. It may not necessary. Sometimes it's floated to the family, sometimes it's floated to the friend. So if you're not able to, identify who are your competitors, then you're in trouble. But if you're able to do that and then look at whoever that are invested in your competitors, you may actually just give you a bit of hint that you should actually go to the next other investors that may have missed the boat, and then you can still go to them and get yourself up and say, hey, you know what? I'm actually available. Shall we have a chit chat and stuff like that? Tell the world that you're planning to do fundraising. Okay, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And interestingly, I find that in Asia, especially Asians, seems to be telling the whole world or publicly that you are doing fundraising seems to be something shameful, like you're begging for money. I think you have to get it out of your head that it's not. Because fundraising simply means that you in exchange of something valuable for money or someone, which that day incidentally I was just sharing with one of the students. If you have an idea, okay, but you got no money, you can always sell your idea. This simply means fundraising. Okay, if you have money but you don't have an idea, you can simply use your money to buy an idea. Okay, and that is fundraising. Okay, how to get investors interested? Differentiations, that is the key word. Okay, because why? If you are doing something that's nothing special, then honestly, you will probably attract the nothing special people who comes to you. So like our Black Storms methodology, okay, with these are the things that a lot of people always look at. So I break it down into 4 things: people, product, process, and of course, potential. Let's start off with people. You and your team must stand out from the crowd. If you are one person, then you have to stand out. How do you stand out? Lots of ways. Social media is one. Experts of the industry is one. Experts of the subject is one. If you think that you are very good, but you have never shown it out, okay, openly, publicly, privately, then it's very difficult for you to stand out from the rest of the others. Okay. You have a good track records. This is important. Which is why I always say, you know what, just go take a LinkedIn account. Whatever certifications, whatever things that you have done, put it up. Use it like a CV. Okay, if you find you're uncomfortable, then don't go on raise funds. Very simple, because your due diligence will fail anyway. Okay, product, there are buyers. Okay, so most important is that when you are going to go out and raise funds, you must have products that are already selling. That means it can be someone who buy one time or someone who buy for long term. Long term can be on the retainer, can be on the subscriptions. They buy something from you, they pay every month, or there may be someone who actually buy it one time. Okay, it can be localized, can be ready to go regional or ready to go global. This is just as important, because if you're not able to scale and you're only selling in one specific industry, if the industry is impacted, immediately your whole company collapse. Okay, which is very common. Okay, your product can even fit the different market segmentations. Example, certain services can target the young, certain services can target the race or gender. So you can even split it up, not only in different market segmentations, you can even break it out into smaller parts, either vertical or horizontal or whichever. So your products must be flexible enough. So you may say, Paddy, if this is the case, I may only have one product. So sure. So in this case, does it mean that your one product is only selling to one buyer, one type of buyer? What happens if you can actually come up with variations? Even if you do not roll it out, it is always important to show the potential investors that what are you going to do on the products, so that you can actually have a wider range over time. Process, I think this is quite straightforward: quicker, faster, cheaper, more sustainable. The longevity, or can you even be automated? Potential. Okay, this is most importantly, because if your rate of growth or your even different markets or even verticals or even M&A, you're not able to tell the investors how are they going to exit, or you yourself do not know how are you going to exit. This means that you're probably going to risk yourself taking in the money without knowing exactly what are you going to do. Because without an exit strategy, your investors will just be as confused. Okay, some investors may make the mistake of, hey, you know what? Whatever that you told me, I believe in you, I give you the money, and the end of story. But there are also other investors who don't give you the full amount. They probably break it down into, say, 50, 30, 20%. I gave you the first 50% over this period of time. You're supposed to reach a certain targets. Once you reach a certain target, another 30% will be released, and then followed by another 20%. If you did not meet any of this, then congratulations. I'm not going to release the rest of the percentage to you, and you will eventually die, because it's better for them to cut losses than to believe in everything. Okay. So this one is quite straightforward, okay. I just basically break it down into a bit more things. You can actually take a look on here. So here's the thing: how do you stand up? As I mentioned, earlier, this is basically just more for return for you to actually understand. It's a lot of work, but it is important because you are going to raise funds, and you raise funds, people must be able to know your track records. So if you tell me, Paddy, why not I start going to LinkedIn updates, going to Twitter or X, and probably even going to Threads. Start today only because tomorrow I want to raise funds. People are not stupid. Okay, they can check all your records. They can check who are your friends, and especially in LinkedIn, if you have both of you have common friends, it's easier for them to just ask, "Hey, what kind of records do you have? Do you talk to the media? Do you get some interviews?" No, if you have none of this, then the question here is, what happens if the other fella actually, the other person or the other companies is raising funds and they are competitors and they have more than you? Okay, products. So very straightforward. Who are you selling to? Who are using your services? All these should have a certain records. So that's why it's always very important when you're trying to raise funds. Okay, you should do all your preparation first, because the work itself, okay, will take up a lot of your time. So it's always important to answer whatever that you can, and hopefully when you go to do a presentation, you're actually more comfortable, less nerve-wracking, and then able to answer whichever the questions are being thrown at you. Okay, process. Quite straightforward. Okay, basically, as I mentioned, quicker, faster, cheaper. But most importantly is that you must be able to provide details on how you can achieve the above. Okay, with a very clear and concise explanations. Okay, and also measurables, as I mentioned, statistics. This is very, very important. You always have to have numbers to compare. Potential, okay, the rate of growth, different market and verticals. So these are the quite standard one. You should have charts, tables, a roadmap, how to have a better people, how to have a better products, what are the better processes, and most importantly is how investors can exit. Some of them can exit in various stages. For example, today they invest in you $1 million based on the valuation of, let's say, $10 million. And maybe 2 years from now, you'll probably need to raise another round. When that happens, the valuations of the company could have already shoots up. So if someone put in $1 million and the company is worth $10 million, and 2 years later, 3 years later, hopefully, there will be an opportunity for you to actually raise another round, but with the valuations to be higher. Okay, thank you. So I will stop it here first, and I just want to keep it within 45 minutes. Okay, I got a question. They just came in. Will you get the slides? Yep, you will get the slides. So that's why I always encourage to go straight into this startup storm, because we actually we will put it up into startup storm. Not only these video clips, because honestly, slides is fun, but at the end of the day, what I hope that you can do is that when you can also access it from startup storm, keep it there. There will be more. This is actually the tip of the iceberg. It's just a very, very short deck only. We actually run a couple of workshops. One of the workshops that is pretty popular, but is only for members. We actually do 2 days of workshops. So 2 days of workshops to help you in preparation of the whole entire deck, all the way on even how to pitch conceptualize your whole ideas and everything. So that is actually more of a premium. So this is actually just one of the slides that we will share it later. Okay. Yeah. So any other questions? Please feel free to type it out, and then I will try to answer as much as I can. Yeah, I'll stop the recording here because some questions may be confidential or maybe sensitive. Just stop here. Okay, so thank you very much. Let me just stop the recording here for today.